Okay, I want to talk about cement planters versus plastic planters. I want to talk about the perfect cement planter, what that means. I also want to give some tips and tricks. So here's a planter that had a plant in it for about 6 months. I want to show exactly what's going on. So what happens here is the roots of the tree or the plant make contact with the rough surface of the cement. So I'll explain why. So what happens is you water this planter and the cement body absorbs all the water. So what happens is the soil dries out and the plant's roots realize that the only moisture that's available is on the inside of the planter. So what it does is it puts its roots against the planter like a suction cup and absorbs all the moisture that is in the cement itself. So the cement planters have an advantage over the plastic planters that they have the ability to store moisture. This has no ability to store anything. It might just give off some chemicals into the soil. The cement, on the other hand, it's like a sponge. It's always wet. And it will always release moisture back into the planter and into the soil that's inside the planter, and that's the benefit of that. So I sort of look at planters in two ways. I look at planters that are on a balcony that need to have a bottom. So a planter needs to have a bottom when you don't have soil underneath it. When you are growing things in the garden and you're putting the planter on top of the soil, for heaven's sakes, don't have a bottom on it. Have it like this, so the roots can go through the planter and into the ground and grow very easily. The only problem with that is you should have this as a permanent location where the planter never gets moved again, so the roots can go way down. And you'll find that your plants will grow incredibly well that way and be so much more productive for you. So, when it comes to the cement mix of planters, I make all my planters myself, and I'll give you an explanation on the mix itself. And the reason the mix is very important is because people make their mixes way too wet. So if you have this planter made with really wet concrete and without polypropylene fibers, you will have lots of cracking and freeze-thaw issues. So when you're mixing your cement, use the least amount of water you can get away with. Use your polypropylene fibers, and never ever make the inside of your planters incredibly smooth, because if it's too smooth, it imitates the plastic containers. The roots can't grab onto it. So if you leave the planters unfinished on the inside, the roots have a much better chance of grabbing the cement itself and sucking the moisture out of the planter. I have a video up called the sand fill method. So the sand fill method to make planters is really nice because it leaves the inside of the planter incredibly rough, and that allows the planters to make a better contact with the root systems of the plants that go inside the planter. Okay, next thing, sealing. I'm not a big fan of sealing planters because they cause the problem of spalding in cold climates, where when there's a liquid sealer on this side, the moisture can't travel back and forth. And if you put the sealer on the inside, you're definitely contaminating the plant material with very harsh chemicals. So again, make your planters well. You won't need any sealers, because if you make your planters really, with a good mix, then the planters will last you a lifetime. They are that strong. And make them thick enough. Don't make them like half an inch or whatever. Make them at least 1.25 inches. And that way these planters will be around forever. And if you do all those things, you can use your planters very effectively in the garden. We have these trellis planters. where we actually have a space to tie stuff or to grow vines or whatever, and it's a nice addition to any planter. So here, for example, we have some really large succulents in a planter. I just moved it from there because we're working there. But these succulents, the secret to them to do really well is we let this planter go completely bone dry. And when we do that, these guys thrive. So it gives you a big advantage having the cement that can absorb some of the moisture that's in the soil as well. So when you need the planters to be very dry, the fact that if you don't water them, the cement will actually absorb any additional water and makes it a great place for succulents to grow and other types of plants. So concrete planters are definitely better than plastic. There's no doubt about it. But the wrong type of cement planters will probably cause you more problems than is if you do everything correctly and analyze how to make the perfect cement planter. So here, that's lots of options I've given you. Think about it. Cement planters are definitely, in my opinion, way better than anything that's made out of plastic, that's paper thin. There's another thing here is in Ecuador we have really harsh sun. This 1.25 inch or 5 centimeter shell will protect the root systems of these planters from high temperatures and protect it from the sun. If you have a typical black plastic planter and the sun is beating on this all day, it's definitely going to affect the root system inside the planter. But if you have 1.25 inches of insulation to protect the roots from the sun and the heat, you will definitely do a lot better with cement planters.